Right.
Is it?
Yep. And we are live.
I'm double checking.
It's up there. Trust me. I don't like how YouTube does the new thing. YouTube doesn't give you any heads up. They just like put it up there. Welcome back to Backcountry BSing episode 48. We haven't done one in a while. We haven't done one since Labor Day.
The best is we've only ever done 2 in the woods.
We've done 2 in the woods. This is a much better setup.
Yeah.
We can bring people in. We can bring people in like virtually now. It's hard to do that in the woods.
Yeah.
So we have a fun one today. We are talking to Lloyd. I guess I'm putting your full name in the title. So I was going to give you some anonymity, but we're talking to Lloyd Vogel. He is with Garage Grown Gear. Well, Lloyd, first, welcome. Thank you for joining us. How's it going?
Hey, it's going well. Yeah. Jealous of your guys' wine.
So I was going to launch into talking about Garage Grown Gear, but how about you give the people listening or watching?
And most people know, like, especially most
people
that
have heard of
follow
it,
yeah, like definitely know what Garage Grown Gear is. But why don't you give like an overview of like what it is and you know the cool concept that you've created?
You bet. Yeah. We kind of view ourselves as both a online retailer and a promotional marketing platform for small and startup outdoor companies. So kind of on our most basic form, we sell, I think, about 90 brands right now that are all kind of fall within
90. Wow.
World. But are small startup or cottage companies. So
what so give me the history of how this, or actually let's get to know Lloyd first before we jump into this. So so you're based, so what's
where are you based out of?
Where are you based out of?
We're based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Okay.
Are you from Minneapolis?
I'm not. I'm a transplant, but not too far away. Grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh, you're a Wisconsinite.
I am a Wisconsinite.
Nice.
Yeah. So thoroughly Midwestern. I know we were just chatting a couple minutes ago about that. Your Ohio roots. But I moved here for school and just have been here ever since. So
what? So you grew up in Milwaukee. Were you an outdoorsy? Because there's some decent outdoorsy selections in Wisconsin. I lived there for a couple of years. So were you always into backpacking, or how did you get started into that sort of thing?
I was not. No. I came into it through paddle sports.
Okay. Nice.
I grew up like right on Lake Michigan, and basically got started with a friend that had a couple of like really like crappy sit on top kayaks, and we would just go down to Lake Michigan when the waves were particularly high and just get wrecked in them. I mean, really know what we're doing, but it kind of evolved into this just like real love of playing around in water and in waves and in conditions, and started canoeing and sea kayaking, and kind of eventually found my way into backpacking, mostly because kind of convincing friends to go paddling was more difficult than convincing friends to go walking.
Really?
Lake Michigan is freaking cold too.
Yeah. That's pretty
like
funny.
Superior, but still not toasty.
Oh, that's funny. That's cool. So, okay, so you're an outdoorsy guy. So I gotta bring this up. So do you know have you ever heard of a musician called Mark Riboulet?
No.
All right, Lloyd, you look and talk exactly like him.
Yeah, he's a big YouTube musician.
Look him up after this. Trust me. It's a compliment. All right, sorry. Okay, so outdoorsy guy, paddle sports guy. So
you convince your friends to walk instead of paddle. And then you just did you just start like hitting the trails?
I like the barriers to entry to backpacking in terms of gear are just so much less. Like I feel like I can for most of my life always been able to, at least since I started backpacking, be able to outfit friends with kind of whatever they've needed. But if you're gonna convince someone to go kayaking with you for a couple of days, you need a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You need and not to say that like I think backpacking has a degree to skill to it. Certainly like backcountry travel really does. But any given day on the water could be really technical, even if you're not anticipating it. And that just like makes it more stressful for bringing people along if they're not quite sure what they're doing.
Have you had some bad experiences bringing people?
Not super. It just
Like
always
you
feels
didn't kill someone, Lloyd? Like bring someone out there totally unprepared?
not that I'm going to tell you about. Just like when you're trying to think about planning something, I think when I would take friends out paddling, I would always kind of feel like I was more in a guide or leadership capacity.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're, taking like you're going with friends on a couple day trip on like the Superior hiking trail, all my friends can walk about as well as I can.
Right.
I don't have any like superhuman walking abilities. I have some knowledge that comes with it, but that's about it. So I think that's something that definitely kind of steered me to really, really liking backpacking, is that just really anyone can get into it pretty easily.
Yeah.
I'm pretty jealous that you can just hit up the Superior hiking trail.
I know.
Like, is that like you're pretty close to there? That's like a dream trail for us.
It's it's about 2.5 hours north of here, kind of depending on where you're looking to get, but it's definitely like really easily within striking range for just like a quick overnight or a quick weekend.
Have you done the whole thing?
I've done sections of probably 90% of
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
I had some ambitions of doing the whole thing this summer, and then it just didn't happen. So maybe next summer.
Everybody talks about the section that's like a mile that you walk in sand. Have you done that section before?
It's not. No.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Everybody complains about that. They're like, it's
that-
beautiful, but then it's just like a mile in sand. Gets old.
I've seen the pictures of it, and it seems like, or at least the majority of the sections that I did this summer are all so far away from the actual lake.
Yeah.
You kind of, it's wonderful when you do see it, but it feels like a distant memory. It's never like really that close to it, and at least on the southern portions of it, like the closest that you get to it are along the highway, because for the majority of the trail, there's a highway in between you and the lake itself.
Oh,
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
I didn't know that either.
Nobody talks about that.
Yeah, nobody talks. I don't see that in the videos.
Have you seen Shug? Have you seen Shug up there?
I have not, no, other than seeing him in his videos. But he's an elusive one. I don't know if you guys have.
No, we've tried, Lloyd. We've tried.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, I feel like he exists on a plane that is kind of unreachable as this like mythical creature of the Minnesota woods.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just feel like he's always at the SHT. It's like
Yeah.
you got to run into him at some point.
You'd think so, but no dice so far.
That's sweet though. And Minnesota in general has like really good outdoor recreating.
So like Boundary Waters, you go up to the Boundary Waters at all?
Yep. Yeah, I was up there a couple of times this summer too.
Oh, nice.
Kind of like just within striking range. I mean, it's a little bit more up to the Boundary Waters, but the permits are easy to get.
Yeah.
The SHT, there's no permits, so it just means that I think a lot of Minnesota recreation is pretty dang accessible, which is nice, and certainly the Boundary Waters are beautiful.
Yeah.
We're jealous of the
outdoor recreating.
We do not have that here. Okay, so I want to get into, all right, so what was the impetus? Where did Garage Grown Gear start? Like how did all this start?
Yeah, well, it wasn't my doing initially. It got started by a lady by the name of Amy Hatch out in Idaho, kind of in like the outside of Jackson area, in like the Teton Valley. And that was back in 2013. And when it initially started, it was with the idea of being a retail space for kind of any, like a more general outdoor startups. So not necessarily relegated to backpacking, but climbing gear or like yoga mats made by small companies. Mm-hmm. And kind of started off as just like and some kind of iteration of Etsy for any kind of small.
Okay, I like that.
And kind of over the years, and it kind of evolved more towards backpacking based on what Amy was interested in. And then, about 3.5 years ago now, Amy, who is kind of a serial entrepreneur in terms of like always has her hands in a lot of different cookie jars, was feeling like she wasn't quite willing to continue to put in the time. She had a kid, and just like the startup life can be kind of grueling and
Right.
time. So she was looking for someone else to come on over and run the ship. And I ran into a employee of Garage Grown Gear at the time at Outdoor Retailer, and
Okay.
having a conversation about something like totally different. We were just like sharing beers on the stairs back when it was in Salt Lake City. And he was like, "Oh yeah, and we're like looking for someone to take over Garage Grown Gear." And I was like, "That's kind of cool." Didn't really think anything about it, and then was like lying in my hotel room that night thinking, "Oh, maybe that's something that I could do." So I just started having conversations with them and see if that was something that they would be interested in. And yeah, 3.5 years later, it's where it is right now, which is kind of followed my passion, which has been ultralight backpacking. So when I came into Garage Grown Gear, my big emphasis was to hone it in on the things that I love to do, which is, ultralight companies. The cottage industry is something that I've always been a really close follower of, and I've always just found small brands to be so much more personal.
Yeah.
So much
Yeah, definitely.
I kind of think of Garage Grown Gear as like the ultimate hype man / ambassador for small brands.
Yeah.
That, like, we just like are so jazzed about the companies that we work with, and we just happen to have a big enough platform to be able to shout real loud. And that's like a really cool spot to be in. But like we legitimately like love working with the companies that we work with, and we like don't work with people that we don't want to work with, that we don't want to support. And that's like a really interesting and kind of fun space to be at. So yeah, that's a little bit of the
Did you have a background in business at all, or like do you just like learn it, just like bring it on, let's do this?
Yeah,
that's sweet.
So I had started a different company about a year prior, and it was a company called Big Outdoors. That essentially the basic business model was to buy custom products and make them available as stock products. So like we worked with like Superior Wilderness Designs, like right when they opened up. We bought like 15 of their stock packs and we're selling them off of our site. And we did this with like a handful of different brands. And having absolutely no idea what I was doing, it was certainly a quick education, because my background is in teaching, in outdoor ed and special ed. So definitely nothing that I did in my liberal arts education particularly prepared me for business, other than kind of just some vague critical thinking abilities.
No, this communication skills.
Yeah, you're a really good. You're a really good talker.
Yeah,
no, you are. Yeah.
Making deals.
Yeah.
But so that I guess that was kind of my preparation for it. But Big Outdoors, I think, was a big education in kind of just the arena and kind of the different players in terms of media, in terms of brands, in terms of ambassadors and influencers. I mean, we exist in such an influencer heavy industry, and I guess I don't know how that correlates to other parts, but the outdoor industry is so much driven by trust in other people's opinions, which I think is a great aspect of it. But Big Outdoors for me was the introduction to what that looks like from a business perspective.
So you kind of already had this concept in mind. So
yeah, you did.
Were you aware of Garage Grown Gear prior to?
Well, oddly, the initial way that I learned about Garage Grown Gear was I entered into one of their giveaways, and I won it. And so I got an email from Amy, who was running Garage Grown Gear at the time, and was like, "Congratulations on winning this giveaway." And I thought that was the funniest thing in the world, because I shot her an email and was like, "Well, I run this site called Big Outdoors giveaway." And so I ended up winning some gear from brands that were already selling on Big Outdoors. So it was kind of a funny little...
That's irony.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
But, yeah. And so that kind of initially like put me in contact with Amy, or even put me on any kind of radar of Garage Grown Gear. And then kind of when Amy was looking to find someone else to run it, to me it seemed like the opportunity to kind of advance, to jump a couple years in the process, in terms of take a company that was already doing things that I liked and be able to mold it and shape it kind of more in a direction that I wanted to go in. So
is she still involved?
She is, yeah. So she's still my business partner in all of this. She does like runs our online magazine and kind of handles all of our finances as well, and is there for all big level decisions as well. So I think whenever anyone's talking about coming into a company and the previous CEO is still there, there's always like some trepidations of
Yeah.
are you able to kind of take it in the directions that you
Yeah.
want. She's been nothing but the most supportive partner through this. And, yeah, still like just adds like a ton of value to what we do, and has a lot of historical context to garage grown gear and the industry as well.
What's her background in?
Journalism.
Okay.
So she like spent a number of years working for a small magazine up in I think Anchorage, Alaska.
Oh wow.
And just like did a lot of backcountry travel, a lot of writing, and then she started a pack rafting company in Jackson, and
Sweet.
it was basically like a rental pack raft company. So she'd shipped pack rafts like wherever people needed them, and then they'd ship them back, because people don't want to buy really expensive pack rafts for like a weekend trip.
We've been talking about that exact
this
concept.
is a great segue. So do you there's two things Andy and I are obsessed with, like two really expensive gear items that we've never used, that we see people use and we want to use. One is hot tents, and everyone listening will know that. The second is pack rafts. So we were out at Isle Royal in 2018.
Yeah.
And people had them there. Are you familiar with Isle Royal? You're up in that area.
I've been up there. Yeah.
You've been there.
Yeah, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I saw people. I was like, what are these people doing? And they were like on the side of this lake, and they were inflating a raft. And I was like, that's a thing? I was like, you can carry those? Have you done it? Have you used them?
I have, not for anything functional. We sell a pack raft option on
Okay.
here. And so on one time visiting Amy out in Idaho, she was like, "You got to try these things out." So we
Is it sweet?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, they're tiny. It like adds an entire dynamic.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it's kind of like what you were saying is, how many times have you like seen some alpine lake or
Right.
Yeah.
just like got to some body of water? You're like, I would love just to paddle aimlessly around this thing. And I know like pack rafts can definitely be much more functional if they're planned and baked into trips, but it seems like most of the times like I'll just be on like Bear and Bean Lake up on the SHT and just be like, yeah, I'd like to paddle around that. I'd do that.
Would you take one backpacking?
Depends on where I was. If there was, there's definitely certain places that I would. I think if I was on a longer trip, I probably wouldn't do the weight. But I've definitely had friends that have done like longer backcountry trips where pack raft is a primary means of travel for them, and I've never experienced it to that level, but would like to.
What's the total weight? If I want to go pack rafting and I want to put that thing on my pack, I have in my head 8 pounds.
8 to 10.
What is it? Do you know what it is? I mean, it depends which one you get, obviously.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think, like alpaca pack rafts.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are more around that level. We sell like a really lightweight one that's like a little over 2 pounds.
What?
Oh, okay.
But we're talking like it's made for flat water.
Okay.
You don't want the bottom of that thing to touch anything.
Okay.
It's great for lakes, but if you're taking that thing down a river, you might be out $300.
It's a glowing endorsement.
Well, I mean, you've been to
you don't want that thing to touch anything.
You've been to Isle Royal, like we saw, like there's just islands all around it with cool campsites on it and cool areas. And it's just like, wow, it'd be really cool to be able to get out to those islands.
Yeah, that's what they were using them for. They were using them to get to some of the campgrounds that are only water accessible. As well as I think I saw some people that were fishing from them too.
Okay. Yeah,
so I
those
was
are
like,
probably more of like the less of the ones that we sell, more of like the alpaca or I'm not sure what some of the other larger.
Alpaca is the only one I've ever heard of.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch out there.
But it would be pretty cool to do something like that. I don't know. We want to do more water-based camping stuff, but we just don't we don't live in an area where there's good options, and B, it's just we already have so much gear as it is that adds a whole other gear stuff. I don't know. So,
it's both.
Yeah, but I mean, seeing people go to Isle Royale for 2 weeks in kayaks and take like 100 pounds of stuff, I was like, that seems pretty sweet. Then schlepping around with this pack all day.
Yeah.
And they were fishing too. I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool. So, and we've never done any water-based camping, right?
I have. I've done canoe trips.
Oh, that's
in
right.
Canada.
He has. That's right. He has.
So back to garage grown gear.
Let's bring it back.
So just like, first of all, I think it's everybody's dream, especially when you're buying like ultralight gear, to be able to like have one place where you can get everything. And so like, I think that's a fantastic niche that you are there for. But like, how do you, I'm just like, do these companies reach out to you? Do you like reach out to them and say, hey, we're interested in your products? Like, how does that work? Like, how do you find them?
It's definitely a combination of both. I would say, kind of when I first started diving into this, it was a lot more of us contacting brands and kind of explaining who we are, what we were doing, why we had some utility to them, and kind of explaining what a partnership could look like. We definitely still do that. But now we definitely have a lot of brands reaching out, asking us kind of to figure out what a retail platform looks like for them to work with. I mean, we are very frequently, for the vast majority of our brands, the only retailer that they work with. They've never entered into retail relationships before. So this conversation is completely brand new to them. And honestly, for some of the brands that we reach out to, like, I find brands on Etsy, I find brands on Instagram, I find brands on Reddit, like, kind of just sleuthing on all the places that you guys would find out about.
Yeah.
But the kind of fun thing about that sometimes is that you'll reach out to a brand and you'll be like, your products are really cool. We'd love to work with you. And they're like, you would? I just like sew stuff in my basement. Like, yeah. Like that's exactly what we want to do, is like finding brands that, we are at our most useful to companies when they are at their smallest. Like a lot of companies won't even consider themselves companies. They're just a person who has a sewing machine and came off a trail and are like, I've got an idea for a product. And they might have a good product, but they don't know how to market. They don't have access to, like, so many of the outlets that we talk a lot about how growth for a business either comes one or two ways for the most part, either organically or paid. And organically takes a long time and a lot of contacts, and paid requires a lot of money. And for someone who's just starting off a business, neither of those things are things that most people have access to. Like, if you like, good luck like reaching out to a backpacker magazine as a small startup and getting a feature.
Right.
Like, good luck doing a sales pitch to REI without a ton of track record of quality sales. It's not happening. For a lot of places, there's just so many different barriers to entry where it's you wouldn't even think that there would be a retailer that would want to pick up your stuff. But that's kind of where we see ourselves coming in, is that we can find these cool products, find these cool makers and shakers that have products that are cool, that are innovative, that just like don't have any platform to be able to sell them on, and we can put them in front of our audience, and showcase them, and help build their social media followings, like write articles about them. And for a lot of it, like, hasn't been an article written about that brand before. Like, if you want any information about who the heck this company is, like, you've got to find it at Garage Grown Gear, because Outside Magazine isn't knocking on their door. What you're making in your garage. So we could, like, that's so much of what the fun is finding brands, is maintaining those relationships. It's like why companies work with us, is because it is definitely like it's a relationship. We don't have like firm contracts with the brands that we work with. It's more of we email companies and say, hey, we need like 300 more of these. Can you make that? Oh, that's going to take me at least a month. And I'm like, okay, fine. And then we're out of stock for something for like 3 weeks. And like, I don't know. That's just like kind of how it goes. There's something really organic and nice about that. So
Yeah, I mean that's interesting to think about because like, you know, when I think about like our favorite like cottage manufacturers, it's like stuff comes and runs, stuff comes and goes. So
Yeah.
that's got to be like challenging, especially if you've got like a really popular product and it sells really well and a lot of demand for it, and it's just like, well, it'll be back in a few months maybe.
oh man, number of emails that we have to respond to that.
What is like one of your most popular things sold on your site? Can you tell us?
Yeah, we sell accessories super well.
Yeah.
So those are like, in terms of being a one-stop shop, kind of when people are looking to buy a bunch of small things just to consolidate their shopping, that's kind of where I think garage grown gear probably has its most utility. Like we love it when people buy Gossamer gear packs and enlightened equipment quilts and you know, some of those bigger ticket items.
Mm-hmm.
But I think where people come back to us time and time again, like they make those purchases oftentimes because they've got a track record with us and, you know, trust us and want us to, you know, be the people that are shipping them their stuff.
Yeah.
But with our accessory items, like those are the like Kula cloths we sell like crazy, like the Canuck Vectos.
Oh, nice.
Of like Rology massage balls, those little like cork balls. Sell super well. Like Lloyd AF bear bags.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Just crushes it with
stocking them because Chris from Lloyd AF like could not supply us with enough of them, and like that's great. Like his business is like taking off and doing great, but we can't keep them on the shelves. So like a lot of those like kind of smaller to middle sized price points where you can like, you know, pick up a bear bag.
Yeah.
Throw in like a green belly meal and you know, like some like Lawson equipment, like bear cord, those kind of things where you can just bundle a bunch of stuff and throw them, all sell really well. And yeah,
I've been calling it CNOC in my head for like years. It's Canuck.
Everything that I know says Canuck.
You would know, Lloyd. You would know.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know.
Later tonight, saying that I was pronouncing it wrong.
So another thing I was thinking about. So this is interesting. So a really cool thing that's happened through our podcast is we have really gotten to know cottage vendors really well.
Yeah, a few of them have become really
close. You must really know these people. I mean, you guys, there are a lot of cottage vendors on your site. Do you have like a lot of relationships with them? Like you must be such a well-connected person when it comes to cottage vendors.
I guess I am. Yeah, I think I mean there's definitely like brands and people that I communicate with way more than others, but you know, for a lot of companies, like as I said, like this is their first retail relationship. So this especially for small companies, like we impact companies, their business and like what they do and how they operate, and they've got to think about us on a daily basis. I mean, companies like Hyperlite, like we like working with Hyperlite, but Hyperlite's not sitting there going like, oh, we need garage grown gear to place an order to keep us afloat.
Yeah.
That's not happening. But for a lot of our small companies, you know, our orders are on the front of their minds because, you know, as a one person maker, like they're spending a sizable chunk of their energy producing stuff for us. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of this is, it's very personal. It's a lot of trust, you know, it's what's fun hopping on calls with brands. Like, when you're first kind of sussing out if this is going to be a good thing, or, you know, we do a lot of giveaways, we do a lot of articles, we ask our brands for a lot and they get a lot out in return. But yeah, like it's always like one of the biggest bummers about Outdoor Retailer not happening this year is that
you can see them
to roam around and be like, because none of our brands ever have booths, but they're always all there.
Yeah,
working around the floor, like us too. Like we don't booth there, it's too expensive. But it's always like so fun just to run into like every like random, and it, you know, and this stage of business, like there's a lot less ego, there's a lot less pretense. Within the cottage part of the industry, I think within startups in general, there is the potential for kind of the Silicon Valley, like cutthroat, like let's talk about ROIs and KPIs and all of these things that kind of stack each other against each other. And we definitely take a lot of pride in viewing Garage Grown Gear as a collaborative platform and not a competitive one. And I think that just like fosters a good vibe between us and brands and brands and brands. And so yeah, a lot of contacts, a lot of friends that have been made through this. Like there's definitely like people I just call to say like, what's up? Like, I don't need to buy any of your stuff right now. I just want to say, hey, and, see what's going on with you. And, it makes it feel like a really close family. And like, it makes it personal, which, at times can be, challenging, but for the vast majority of the time, it's what makes the work like rewarding and why you do it when it's tough, and why you keep trying to push it as hard as you can, so that ultimately like we're building Garage Grown Gear so that it can be beneficial to brands. Because it's not like the easiest or like the most profitable thing to do, as we were talking about earlier. But I think there is some like fundamental merit to what it has the potential to be within the outdoor industry.
Is part of your master plan to have like a dedicated retail space?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. So Andy and I were chatting about this a little bit.
Yeah.
But we got a like right before COVID became a thing that just shut everything down. We signed a 3-year lease on a retail.
Oh,
spot.
so it's happening. Oh, poor timing, Lloyd.
Yeah.
Poor timing. I'm sorry.
It was not the best. But we have this spot that we really love. It's like smack dab in the middle of South Minneapolis.
Okay, I was gonna ask you if
really
you could share where it
it.
was. Okay, so it'll be there. Okay, but so this is happening, correct?
It's like, I mean, so it's a functional space. So like all of our
Okay.
stuff is on all the walls. If you can kind of like like all of the gear layout videos
Mhm.
or photos that you see on Instagram, like that's kind of what all of our walls look like right now, where it's just like epic amounts of things everywhere coming at you. But I mean, other than having structured business hours, it's like pretty much ready to go. It's just kind of a desire of like, is there utility in opening up right now?
Right,
like,
right.
Because like, are people going to come? Is it safe to have people come?
Right.
Is it worth staffing that when we could just be having people fulfill? I don't know.
Right.
We've kind of decided that it's going to be a 2021.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And kind of going back to like COVID, I mean, how has COVID affected like the online business and everything else?
Yeah, it's wild. I'm actually in the process of writing an article on this because I think it's kind of fascinating. But I think the answer is that it's affected everyone wildly differently.
Right.
Really?
I mean, for initially when it happened, it seemed like, at least from my interactions with other companies, that the market just like constricted immediately. There was this fear of, we don't really know what's happening. We're not going to spend a lot of money though. We're not going to go outside. And there was this kind of like initial fear of what this could mean. And a bunch of businesses, a lot of companies that we work with were closed for weeks, some companies for months. And some companies opened up and found themselves in a better spot than they've ever been.
Wow.
Really?
Onslaught of orders, because people are not traveling internationally. People are going out to parks. Like it's not quite like what the bike industry is seeing right now.
Oh, they're getting like there's like that's demand is like through the roof right now, right?
Roof. Yeah. But I mean, in certain parts of the outdoor industry, like dehydrated food was pretty much impossible to be able to purchase back in May. Cooler cloths were flying off the shelves as toilet paper was. Portable bidets. I think we sold like 1,200 portable bidets.
What?
Like we could not sell enough portable bidets. That was in like relative obscurity on our website to being like, if we only sold portable bidets for the next month, I think we would have been fine. So it's like made the market really weird. And some of these businesses, especially they produce overseas, had a really hard time getting their products into the States, sourcing fabrics that they needed to be able to create. So it's kind of just like each company has handled it differently depending on kind of what particular thing they sell. I mean, fortunately with Garage Grown Gear, like we sell such a variety of stuff that like we were able to sell a bunch of food back when survivalists were stocking up on dehydrated food because people weren't sure if this was the end of the world or not. And portable bidets, and like there was like a run on bear bins for a while because there was bear vault didn't have bear vaults available anywhere, so
Wow.
like you couldn't find any of them on anywhere on the entire internet. So I think again, like we sold like 30 of them in a period of like 3 hours.
This is interesting. This is super interesting.
I never would have thought about this.
It's super bizarre. And there's still companies that are still wildly affected by it. But, we look at September and October or at least late September and pretty much the entire month of October as two of like the worst periods of the year to be selling stuff. And it feels like the summer's been extended in the sense that at least with Garage Grown Gear, and I know with a handful of our other companies at least, that you're still kind of riding this wave of outdoor recreation of people don't necessarily feel safe doing some of these trips, but a lot of people feel okay doing more socially distanced activities out in the woods, and that means buying gear.
Yeah, I think there's going to be, we've had a bunch of cottage vendors on this podcast during COVID. And I think one thing we've talked about is I think there's like going to be maybe you're seeing it like a pent up demand because people have been shut inside, and like in the spring, people probably had tons of backpacking trips planned for the spring. Like we did, we had to change our plans, but now they're going to start taking those trips maybe in the fall. And I feel like you're going to see some sort of like V-shaped rebound. I don't know. I have no idea if that'll actually happen, but I feel like there's got to be some sort of pent up demand for this kind of stuff. And I'm hoping that keeps the industry going. The portable bidet thing is hilarious because when this all happened, I was like, told my wife, I was like, well, I want to know what a portable bidet is, but I told my wife, I'm like, we got to get a bidet. There's no toilet paper anywhere. And bidets you couldn't even get. What is a portable bidet?
So it's just like a little,
like a cap
plug that you put in a water bottle.
Okay.
It has like a little like spout that when you squeeze the water bottle, it shoots water out.
Okay.
So I think the thing weighs like, I don't know, between like 1 and 2 ounces. But it's like, it's like that big. It's small.
Have you seen things like that? Things like dehydrated food? Have you seen the sales start to like normalize back to like BAU levels? Okay. Because it was pretty annoying not being able to buy dehydrated food.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, dehydrated food is still in really, really high demand. I think a lot of our small brands especially are still kind of reeling from being able to source enough food. And, the like companies like Good to Go have been able to handle it pretty well. Companies like Trailtopia have been able to handle it really well. But if you're a small maker and suddenly your production, like I was reading something that I think like Backpackers Pantry saw a 1,000% increase in
what
over the course of like a week. It was nuts. I might be misquoting that, but I think I read that in an article but it was just like, a transformative number of sales. And you never plan for that. And if that takes all of your inventory that you were planning for a month, week, like, and the place that you buy your ingredients from is also getting, hammered with orders from much bigger vendors, like you're going to be on the bottom of the totem pole to even source the food that you need. So I think that just kind of further speaks to like the ripple effects of it, of everyone is feeling it differently, and it's not all good, it's not all bad. It's kind of a weird thing, when you talk about like I don't think there's anyone in the industry that is necessarily trying to like profit off of this as a time period, but for small brands it is really it would be stupid not to try to keep up with the demand now, because it's a shift in the market. And like if more people are getting outside, and as long as it's happening in ways that are safe and that are ways that are accepted by the places that you're traveling through, like
No, this is super interesting. I did not think we would talk about this. But this is, you're the perfect guy to talk about how COVID's affecting like the outdoor space, especially from a retail perspective.
I can't wait to read your article.
This is really interesting. Yeah. And you're like the perfect person to talk to about it because you probably know like all about what's going on in terms of like what's being sold, what's not being sold, like that sort of stuff. So it's really interesting.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
The bidet thing makes sense. And so does the dehydrated food thing. Is there anything else that's like just flying off the shelves because of COVID that you wouldn't think, like you wouldn't expect?
I think those are the main ones.
Or is there anything that's not selling that's surprising that you think would be selling because of this?
Ooh.
These are tough questions.
Just like the opposite, the opposite question.
But is your bread and butter, like your accessories and stuff, is that still constant?
Bread and butter is definitely the accessories.
Yeah.
The food items also sell really well because sometimes people like we've got a $20 free shipping threshold.
Oh, nice.
So for a lot of brands, like you can mix and match meals.
Mm-hmm.
If you spend $21 on food, you can get meals from 3 different companies. If you buy that from 3 separate companies, you're going to pay 3 separate shipping costs.
Yeah.
And that's going to be more than the worth of the products that you just purchased. So I think it's kind of those things. It's small things also looped in with big things like, we'll sell like the occasional like Griffin gear quilt, and people will throw in like some Nylofume pack liners, some like ultralight toothbrushes and other like random stuff because why the heck not? If you're spending $300, you might as well spend like $305.
Yeah.
But see, that's a great strategy too, because like you have like a fantastic selection of like the ultralight knickknacks that people don't feel like going all the way over here for. And it's just like, oh, I'm going to order this. I might as well throw like another $20 of like all this like tiny little cool things that are hard to source.
Yeah. It's a great idea.
Thanks.
So another question. So I've asked a lot of our retailers this, and I feel like you're a really good person to ask this question. So what do you think, this is different. We're stepping away from COVID. Man. What do you think is going to, and you're also an ultralight guy. Like, what do you think is going to be,
like what's trending in the ultralight?
What's trending, and what do you think is going to be big in the next like 5 to 10 years in terms of like ultralight? Is it a piece of gear or a fabric or some sort of technology, or like what do you think? What do you think in your crystal ball? Like what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's one that I definitely think about a lot. I think this summer in particular saw a incredible focus on FKT attempts and just doing.
Wow.
Longer trails faster. And I think, not that that's necessarily a new thing, but I think there has been kind of a switch from, I hesitate to say the novelty of ultralight, but kind of like the hobby of ultralight to like the actualizing of ultralight within like more of a sport form.
Yeah.
Or more of like a competitive form. Like I think, like when I think about my ultralight kit or how I have historically, is kind of a, like I do it for like myself. Like I like having a lightweight kit. It's kind of fun. Some people play fantasy football. I like tinker with my, with my base weight, whatever. Like that is like what it is. But I think that recently, looking at like Jeff Garmire's It's No Time, like the amount of publicity that Jeff got for that, and like Jeff's an awesome dude. If you guys ever have the chance to interview him.
You would know him, Lloyd. You know everybody.
Yeah.
I followed it on Instagram. Yeah. I followed his FKT on Instagram.
Yeah. He would love to be on with you guys, and he would be a far more entertaining interview than me.
No, you're doing great, man. This is actually really interesting. No, you're like, you know a lot about the ultralight and the outdoor sphere. Yeah. No, this is really good.
Well, I'm lacking the tiger garb.
Yeah, I know, right? No, but that's an interesting point. So, a shift of using ultralight towards the FKT sphere is kind of what you're seeing, what you think might be big going forward.
I think so. I think that definitely it's egged on by I think a culture of influencers that prioritize lightweight long distance travel. You're looking at like the Jeff Garmires, like the Jupiters, the Darwins.
Yeah.
I think they're always constantly like. Darwin isn't known for like being an FKTer, but he has hiked a lot, talks a lot about lightweight gear, and moves quite quickly down those trails.
Yeah.
As Jupiter, who I know has got a couple of FKT attempts under him, but or I think my knowledge exactly of people's resumes in terms of hikers is not that great. Apologies, Jupiter, if I'm insulting you, but I think he's got some FKTs on there. But I think that's kind of what people are emulating and looking at, and I think it's kind of a fun thing because looking at, and I don't think Jeff would hate on me for saying this, but like Jeff is a great dude and an incredible athlete. He is not like some superhuman athlete. Like that man trains like crazy, is incredibly, like his mental perseverance like has to be absolutely off the chain to be able to do something like this.
Yeah, no joke.
It's so cool to be able to be in a part of a part of a sport, part of an activity, however you want to call it, and look at a guy like Jeff and be like, I probably can't do that, but like I definitely cannot play in the NFL, but I like might be able to do what Jeff just did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I might be able to do that. Like if I like, train really hard and really prioritize like that, like maybe I can't do it on the Colorado Trail, but like, maybe I could go and do that on the SHT. Maybe I could do that on some smaller trail. Like maybe I can have my own little victory within this world. And I think that's something that's pretty cool. That it's kind of like owned by the people who are a part of it. Because like Jeff isn't like some dude that just is like, some ultra runner who just came in and was like, well, I'm just gonna blow this record out of the park. Like he is, his through hiking resume and his how ingrained he is in the through hiking community, in the ultralight community, in the outdoor community. It's like that's where he comes from, and it's sweet to see him have a success like this.
Lloyd, did you just announce your SHT FKT attempt?
So,
Would you ever do something? Would you ever do something like that?
I casually thought about it this summer.
Yeah, you just casually thought about FKT in the SHT.
We'll ultralight pace for you if they have pacers.
Yeah, we'll shoot video and stuff. We'll make like we'll do the media aspect of it.
Great. I'll be like a lion or something.
Yeah.
Another big cat. No, I actually legitimately thought about trying to do an FKT.
So why are you still thinking about it, or?
I'm not. I went up there and I did two different trial runs. I did 2 different 50-mile stretches of, I did 50 miles out and then 50 miles back the next day.
What?
And I did that twice, just on like separate weekends to kind of gauge like A, if I could do that, and B, if I wanted to do that. And I definitely came to some conclusions after the second one of, I might be able to do it, but I definitely don't want to. It's like, I don't know, like I have massive amounts of respect for anyone that can put their body through that. I found myself really loving the first day of both, and then waking up the next day, my body feeling like absolute hell.
Yeah.
To do that over again. After 2 days, it wasn't bad, but I couldn't, when I got back to my car on both of the second days, I thought to myself, can I do that for another 4 days? Like, I don't know where that comes from. Like, I don't know what switch in my brain needs to be able to happen for that to be able to be something that after 4 days, I don't bail on.
But I mean, shout out to you for doing 100-mile overnight.
Yeah,
I mean,
Jesus, yeah,
that's no joke.
It wasn't fun.
It doesn't sound fun.
Like I don't like maybe people who do FKT attempts like aspects of it, but it's not I can't imagine that it's a particularly enjoyable thing. Like it is you versus your brain versus whatever trail you're walking on. Because I mean, I consider myself a total amateur in this regard, but I like try to do my research on nutrition and on hydration, and like I felt really solid about my gear, but like I found myself not wanting to eat anything because everything tasted terrible.
Yeah.
I found myself like not wanting to drink anything, and I found myself cranky and hating the music that I like to listen to, and turning off the books that I was interested in previously. Like it's a mental grind.
Yeah.
And, it requires a unique person to be able to do that.
Yeah.
What about a shorter one? What about something shorter than the SHT. Would you ever do something like that where you only had to knock out like 3 of those days?
Maybe. Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I kind of settled on like I like running and I like hiking. I'm not sure I like really fast hiking.
Do you run any marathons?
I haven't. I do a lot of trail running.
Okay.
Which seems to be kind of my and the Twin Cities just have a ton of different trail systems.
Wow.
That, like, being right on the Mississippi,
Yeah.
there's just trails that wind all around it, and I really like that. And I really like backpacking, and it's just the two combined kind of doesn't do it for me.
Yeah. Running a marathon is similar to what you talked about, how like you feel like shit the next day. You don't know if you'll ever do one again. It sucks while you're doing it. But when you finish it, it's like, oh, this is awesome. You know, like I just did that. But I like I've ran 4 marathons in the last like 2 years, but I would never want to hike consecutive 50-mile days.
No.
Pass.
I mean, and I definitely came to the conclusion that I do not want to either. I talked to Jeff about it previously, because I was like, just tell me everything that I need to know, please, so that I can like glean some information from you. And like the way that he talks about it is makes it sound like relatively effortless.
Doesn't look effortless.
I mean, it just seems like what you said, like just a massive mental game of like just overcoming how painful it is and where your mind is and boredom and your feet hurt.
Your feet
I
just
can't
got to
even
be
imagine.
torn up. I mean, torn up. And
Yeah.
like I don't know who has the current SHT. So I watched when he did it, follow Bigfoot. I'm sure you're familiar with his attempt. I think maybe 2 years ago. So I watched
some record on it.
Yeah, I don't know if he has. I just remember he attempted it. I think this was 2 years ago, and he had to bail because it got colder than he thought it would. I think that's why he bailed. I don't remember.
I don't remember.
But watching that, and he wasn't trying to do 50-mile days. I mean, he still do like 44-mile days. So it's like just as terrible. But he was trying to, and he had to bail because he didn't bring enough, and his kit was so light. I mean, so light, and he didn't bring enough clothes, and it had gotten cold, and he bailed that way. But just watching that, I was like, oh my God, that looks miserable.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Something fun. I mean, I don't know. I say like there's nothing that sounds fun about that, but I mean, running marathons, there's nothing that sounds fun about that too. But there is like a sense of accomplishment for doing it. I don't know.
I think there's like a masochism that comes with like that, where like there's a part of you that you have to be kind of working out. Like there's something that you've got to be like mulling on or figuring out, or I don't know. Like I found myself being like, I don't think I hate myself enough for this. Like I don't. maybe the rest of my life is like too cushy. I don't know, but man, I just whatever that switch was that made you like push through that pain. I don't have it. I don't.
Do you have any like fun upcoming backpacking plans, non-FKT attempt backpacking plans for this fall?
Sadly, I don't. No, like I was if I was gonna do this FKT attempt, it was going to be last week.
Wow.
That didn't materialize, and I didn't quite have enough time to be able to take off to be able to do it slower than that. So I kind of just ended up not doing it at all, which is a bit of a bummer, because that was kind of my my one trip for at least this part of the year. So yeah, nothing on the calendar right now. I don't really do a lot of winter stuff.
I was going to ask you if you do winter backpacking.
That's intense.
Why not, Lloyd? You don't hate yourself enough.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, I don't.
That's like real winter backpacking up there. We do winter backpacking, but it's in Ohio and south of Ohio, so it's like in the 20s, and like maybe there's a little bit of snow, but it's not like winter backpacking where you live, where like you could die if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, there's a risk factor there.
Yeah.
No, it just doesn't. It's like a lot of respect to people that do it. I just it doesn't like scratch the itches that I have for being outside. Yeah, it just doesn't.
Have you ever gone and done any backpacking out west?
A bit, not a ton. I've done some stuff in Rocky Mountain National Park.
Okay.
Done some stuff in Glacier in
Oh,
Banff.
nice.
I've done segments of the John Muir Trail.
So you've done a lot.
So
You've done a lot of out west backpacking.
I always feel like, and this is something that's kind of an odd thing about within ultralight communities, is that there is like, a badge of honor that comes with through hiking trails.
Right.
I've never through hiked any of the three big trails. So I feel like there's always the caveat of like, yeah, I've done a lot of backpacking, but I haven't spent 5 months hiking something real long.
Hey, we wear that badge proudly.
Yeah.
Lloyd.
We wear that.
Okay, not everyone can just up and leave for 5 months.
That's right.
Is that something you want to do, or is something you're going to do in the near future?
No. When in my early 20s, when I was doing some guiding, I spent 2 summers. I guided a trip up on like the Inside Passage of Alaska. It was a kayaking trip, and then I did like a month and a half backpacking trip up in the Brooks Range.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you've never been out west, so just a little. You've just barely been out west.
Have you ever been out west? A little bit.
But that I definitely like, and I mean, guiding is definitely a different experience than personal trips, but
Right.
definitely kind of came to the conclusion that I definitely really like the solitude that comes with such experiences, but 5 months is a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's my ideal trip length.
Have you ever done anything like in the Midwest, or not? I guess you live in the West, but like East Coast, like where we live, like Pennsylvania, West Virginia, anything like that?
Not a ton.
There's not a ton to do, but there's some.
I've done some paddling on the Outer Banks.
Oh, nice.
And that's a beautiful spot that I would like to return to. I've done a bunch of paddling on the Great Lakes, but like not a ton. Some like random whitewater trips on rivers that I don't remember the names of in like Georgia on one random spring break trip. But I find myself, like, especially these days, not really being able to get away from work too much, which means that I'm kind of relegated to where I can get within striking distance of the Twin Cities. So SHT, Boundary Waters, like Apostle Islands, but not too many other places.
Those are some pretty good options to have if you can't go far. I mean, those are all really solid options.
Yeah.
Well, so, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. A couple more questions about garage grown gear.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah. So, like, how often do you pick up like new retailers?
I would say we probably pick up, on average, probably 3 or 4 new brands a month.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Kind of depends on how. It kind of just depends on how I'm feeling, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
If I'm like out there, like really like actively pursuing companies and wanting to make stuff happen, then it happens a little bit faster. Sometimes it's a process of months, if not years, to start working with companies. Like we probably have like 4 or 5 different brands that are like in process of like eventually they will find their way onto garage grown gear. Like it won't be this month. It might not even be until 2021. Maybe they don't have the production capacity to do it right now, but they're are interested. So I'd say at any given point, there's usually like probably anywhere between a half dozen and a dozen companies that are kind of somewhere in the queue of figuring their way onto garage grown gear. And some brands, it's real easy. Like, if you sell, we are going to start carrying these range bars. This dude, Zach, makes this like one meal replacement bar, and it comes in one flavor. And so we can order a bunch of those. And I talked to the dude on Tuesday, and he shipped them today.
Oh, nice. Oh, cool.
Easy. Like, I tried one. It was good. He has one product. I don't need to think anymore about it.
Yeah.
It's ready to go. So sometimes that turnaround can be immediate. Sometimes it's, especially if we're working with we're in process with an overseas company right now in Greece. And so we weren't able to work with them for a while because of some shipping regulations that were happening because of COVID. So that was just like didn't quite happen. And now that things are kind of starting up again, it's a lot for a company that's used to making like made to order stuff one at a time to suddenly like, yeah, we need 60 units of 4 different products, and they can turn around and say, okay, well, that's going to take 4 months.
How many retailers are on Garage Ground Gear? Do you know like the number off the top of your head?
I would guess it at around somewhere between 80 and 90 different companies.
And what's a company that like no one has probably heard of, or it's like a obscure company,
up and comer
that like you want like that would be cool to like tell us about?
Yeah.
I know. You can do multiple ones.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a couple of brands I find myself drawn to, like more of like the real small companies.
Yeah.
There's a company called Ultralight Sacks that makes just like DCF odds and ends. Like they make like DCF compression sacks and like little like ditty bags. I think they're a really cool company that's doing some pretty neat stuff. Yard Gear is a company that
I've heard of them.
Packs that I'm really a fan of. This dude Adam makes like uses a lot of like recycled fabrics in his products, and I think there's a lot of like subtle innovations happening with backpack manufacturing right now. Like I don't think we're going to see any like revolutionary new designs on backpacks, but there's a lot of people playing around with new like vest, like kind of going back to that initial question of talking about like where ultralight backpacking is going. I think like some of that is packs that are built more constructed towards quicker movement. So like more of like the vest pack.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
They're more designed to allow for more movement, less bulky, hip belts, if like really much of a hip belt at all.
Yeah.
So like Yard Gear is another company that I've been particularly interested in recently, and they just sent me a pack, so I feel like it's on my brain.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to do some fast packing at one point in my life, and I was looking at I was actually talking to Chris at Light AF about designing like a pack that had a chest rig vest kind of setup on the front versus like a normal one for like moving faster. So I don't know, that was interesting you said that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that would be cool if more people. I know like Nathan has a pack kind of like that. And like some of the running brands do, but like it's a no-brainer to make one out of Dyneema,
Yeah.
Make I don't know.
Odd like lacks of overlap. Like there's a ton of overlap between trail running and backpacking.
Yeah.
There's a ton of overlap between like the hunting gear and ultralight backpacking gear. There's a lot of overlap between these industries, but they just like don't quite talk to each other because like ultralight backpackers like don't want to hang with bushcrafters.
Yeah.
And, I think trail runners kind of like look at ultralight backpackers like they're the slow movers on the trail. There's just like some like odd kind of dynamics that keep, I think, companies from overlapping too hard into other spheres.
Yeah.
Which is kind of silly, I think, but
hunting to us always was a sector that like, man, you do not want to be carrying these 80-pound packs out there.
These backpack hunters need to get into the ultralight train. I like some of the stuff that they carry. Oh my gosh.
It's like you can, if you take 20 pounds off your load, that's 20 pounds of meat you can haul out. I mean, honestly, it's like, I don't know. So like when you said like other spheres, hunting needs to just get on it.
Yeah.
It's too heavy.
I think there is some, there's like some, I think thought process that like ultralight is like an emasculating form of backpacking.
There is some of that though. Like you don't carry a 60-pound pack, so you're not a real backpacker. There is definitely some of that.
Yeah.
Which is BS.
Bronze part of which I don't know. I think that ultralight backpacking is an evolution of some sorts. Like it's not like like, and ultralight means whatever it means to you.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Get stuck in terms of what metrics are for base weights, but what I think is lightweight backpacking or ultralight backpacking for one person looks differently, or like what someone's, maybe it's more of like what someone's ideal base weight is dependent on what that person values out of their trip. And that can still be like lightweight minimalism. It might not be ultralight, but
So you're not carrying a chair, are you?
I was
Lloyd?
going to ask you, Lloyd. You're not
No.
carrying a chair, are you? Would you consider carrying a chair?
I would not. No.
Oh, hey, at least you stand by that.
Yeah. You
What's your base weight? What's your base weight, Lloyd?
It depends. I think like for this last Superior hiking trail trip, it was around 7.5 pounds.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's
But,
sweet.
And for me, like I definitely view it as like it is a challenge within myself.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think like that is like better than anyone else's. Like,
Yeah.
only affirm the fact that like if you want to bring a book, you should bring a book. If you want to bring a chair,
Yes.
you should bring a chair. You should do what's going to make your trip enjoyable. For me, that's trying to go as ultralight as I can, and that's great.
Nice. All right, Lloyd, this has been really fun.
Yeah,
So first, thank you so much, man, for talking to us. You were really interesting.
Yeah.
You know a lot about
Yeah.
the outdoor space. So you're a great person to talk to. We're going to having you back again.
And just a thing here too. There's a bunch of good comments in the chat. We try on these to like not get glued into the chat, so I apologize to everybody. Like this is we got Lloyd
we're
here.
with Lloyd.
We're with Lloyd.
We're with Lloyd.
Yeah.
And there weren't any awkward breaks in the conversation, so it didn't need to go to the chat.
Yeah.
So people listening to this, check out Garage Grown Gear.
Yeah.
We'll put
and
a
there's
link.
a lot of good comments in here about people who have shopped at Garage Grown Gear and singing the praises about it. And
Great.
So we will put a link down there. Sir, this was really fun.
Yeah,
You had
Lloyd,
some really cool insights, man.
Lloyd, thank
Yeah.
you so much for taking this time and talking to us.
All right, everybody. We will see everybody on the next one. Maybe if I can end it. Lloyd, stay on. All right, it's over.